higher hopes in making the last wild card or whatever. But I'm preparing my management team for all possibilities. If we don't get better, we have decisions to make at the trade deadline. And that's not my preferred end result. But I'm preparing all contingencies.
Well, folks, the season is now officially coming apart, if it wasn't official already. Just think about this for a second. We had the Steve Cohen press conference where he basically said everything we had talked about in the last Mets video that I did on the channel, kind of predicting what would be coming from Steve Cohen, and he said basically it's on the players, he wasn't going to fire anybody, and he wants to see this team improve by the trade deadline. Well, lo and behold, here we are as we're now 2 weeks from the trade deadline, and things continue to get worse. It was fun for a little bit. It was just a little ray of hope there when that 6-game winning streak was happening before the All-Star break, and you saw, Lindor starting to hit, and we saw Francisco Alvarez having big home runs, and we saw the Mets sweep a series from the Arizona Diamondbacks. But I held back. I didn't want to shoot anything because I knew at any moment things would fall apart. I was thinking, if they lose a couple of games here before the All-Star break, it just takes away everything that they had done during that 6-game winning streak. And that's exactly what has happened. They're now riding from the San Diego series to now a 4-game losing streak, and their offense has completely and totally disappeared. It's non-existent. In fact, take a look at. I'm going to bring up the stat for you. Here's a stat from Amazin Army on Twitter at WeAreMetFans. 1 run, 4 hits. A .072 batting average. 18 strikeouts. And 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Those are the 2 games post All-Star break against the LA Dodgers. And I know it's the Dodgers. They're a very good team. They're probably going to take over the West from Arizona, win that division, you would think. I understand that. But the Mets have been pretty uncompetitive. So Justin Verlander on Friday night walked the ballpark. He walked 6 batters in that game. Eventually gave up 3 runs. As the Mets lose 6-0 in that game, they were 1 hit by Julio Urias. And then last night, in spite of the best efforts by Kodai Senga, the bullpen implodes, and we saw the comedy of errors as Brett Beatty has a ball smack him in the face as he couldn't find a pop-up down the third baseline. I mean, I just don't know what else to say. So as Steve Cohen alluded to in his press conference, we'll see where we are post-All-Star break, and then decisions are going to be made, and he's ready to make any decision, whatever it may be, whether it be selling, whether it be buying. We saw Billy Epler make the same statement on Friday, that they're open to anything, selling or buying. Well, it's pretty obvious now they're not going to be buying. I don't know how. The Mets right now are 19.5 games out of first place in the NL East. Forget it. Just forget it. It's all about the wild card. And the standings right now for the NL wild card are impossible. Mets right now are, let's pull this up here. Mets right now are 9 games back in the wild card. 9 games back, and they still have to climb 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams just to have a shot at being the last wild card team in a postseason. 5 teams! And they're 8 games under 500. They haven't even gotten to 500 yet. It's over. They're at 50 losses already this season. It's over. So the question is, what happens next? And how quickly do the Mets act as far as selling pieces off? Can they sell pieces off? And especially I'm talking about players like Verlander and Scherzer. Do they sell those 2 guys? Both players have been resistant up to this point on the idea. They don't want to talk about the idea of getting traded. Here's a quote from Justin Verlander. Everyone has seen flashes of it, and I keep saying, as I was on the other side, we would be a team that every team could come here to play. I'd say, I hope this isn't when they click, Verlander said before Thursday's loss. And as a playoff team, I wouldn't want to face us. Well, I don't think the Dodgers got that memo. I think they're very happy about facing the Mets this week. So the question is, can the Mets find a way to make this happen? It's going to be very difficult, as here's the quote from Ken Rosenthal of Fox Sports. What about Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer? Well, both have a lot of money coming. Both have no trade clauses. Both are guys who have complex contracts as well, and neither is pitching particularly well. So it's conceivable one of them could go, or maybe even both, but I don't necessarily see that happening. The Mets are in a place right now where it's not too desirable. They are stuck with what they have. If there's one thing that's worse than selling off and giving up on a playoff season, it's being a team that nobody wants to deal with. Oh my God! I mean, oh. Ah! I just don't know what to say. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. There's another thing here. I have more. I have more here. Hold on. We got more here. Let's see. Rosenthal left the door open for at least one of them to be traded, although he doesn't necessarily see that happen. As I just said, New York would likely have to eat most of the contracts if either pitcher is dealt. Scherzer is due over $43 million this season and has a player option worth $43 million next year. Verlander is owed $43 million in 23, 24, and $35 million in 25. At that point, he'll be 42 years old. So taking on those contracts won't be preferred option for any team. So you want to sit there and say, well, all that the Mets have to do is call up the Yankees and say, hey, give us Jason Dominguez, we'll give you Justin Verlander. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So forget that. You're not going to get top prospects for what the Mets have right now. You're going to get middle-of-the-road prospects at this point. And if you are the Mets, do you care? Do you just want to blow it up to the point? Are you at the point now? If you're the Mets front office, that's the big question. If you're the Mets front office, are you at the point where you just don't care? You just want to blow this thing up and get what you can, which is certainly understandable. But if you're expecting big-time returns on Verlander and Scherzer, if you want to focus on those two, it's probably going to be very, very difficult. Then there are the other players on the team. Now, Starling Marte has had a very strange season. This was a player who was phenomenal last year for the Mets. One of my favorite players to watch last year was Starling Marte because he always came up big in big spots last year. This year it has not happened for him at all, and he's had to deal with a number of injuries. He hasn't played in this series against the Dodgers because of a quote-unquote illness. He has looked lost at the plate. At times looks like he's just doesn't care when he's at the plate. He's just, swinging at everything and grounding out on the first pitch that he sees. He's had a terrible year. But again, he's a player who's a veteran player you would think would be a desirable commodity to somebody. Do the Mets try to unload him for whatever they can get? Do they try to ship a Mark Hanna for somebody? Even Daniel Vogelbach, does he have any value? Does anybody want a hitter who's hitting 222? That's what's really killing the Mets right now. Not only is this team not playing well, and they have put themselves out of contention, but outside of their valuable pieces that are going nowhere, meaning Pete Alonso and Brandon Nimmo and Francisco Lindor and Francisco Alvarez, the guys that are the veteran guys who you could possibly move aren't playing well enough for anybody to sit here and say, oh yeah, we'll give you, one of our top 10 prospects, one of our top 20 prospects for that player. I don't know if that's going to happen right now. That is the concern as the Mets right now head towards the trade deadline. But it's obvious right now the Mets have to consider waving the white flag on the 2023 season. I don't know, and I don't want to sit here and speculate what that means for front office people or for the manager, and I know a lot of Met fans want to get onto that. I'm not going to go there. I still think Buck Showalter is a very good manager. He has had a bad year this year as a manager. I'll certainly admit that. I don't think at this moment you can find... Right now, anybody who could be better unless you're telling me it's going to be somebody who maybe has a stronger connection to the way the game is played now. Maybe somebody who's just recently retired. If you want to give me that, that's a possibility, but I don't know who that person is right now. To me, right now, Buck Showalter is the best option to manage this team moving forward. Plus, he still has another year left in his contract. And chances are, unless the Mets want to have him go into next year as a lame duck manager, either they're going to extend him another year or they're going to let him go now. That's going to be something to see when we get towards September, October. Then who's going to be the next president of baseball operations? That's going to play a role into all this. That may force the Mets not to make any moves at all because we don't know who's going to be making the ultimate decisions come the fall and the winter for the Mets. Is it going to be David Stern? Heck, maybe it'll be Daniel Stern. We can always have a little comedy. Howard Stern. Why not Howard Stern? Why not? But we'll see. We'll see how this thing breaks out, folks. But it's not. It's been a disappointing year. It's tough to watch. It's tough to sit there. You just shake your head and just say, "What a shame," because this was a team that was so good last year. 101 wins last year, even with a lot of the movement and player movement. Losing DeGrom, losing guys like Chris Bassett and Taijuan Walker. You bring in Verlander. You bring in Kodai Senga, who has been very good. Bringing back Nimmo, bringing back McNeil on long-term deals. You thought, okay, maybe this team won't win 101 games, maybe 95 games. Maybe they'll certainly be right there with the Braves for the NL East this year. 90 to 95 wins. It's not going to happen. This looks like a 75, at best, 75-win team come the end of the season this year in 2023. And that is a huge, huge disappointment. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep it here, folks. Like and subscribe. If there anything happens here as far as moves that are made, whether it's the trades, whether it's any kind of trade that's going to be made, whatever happens, we're going to be right here and bring it right to you on the Sports Talk Nation. Like and subscribe. We'll talk to you next time.